Sebastian and I first met when we were creating a TV show together. We actually shot a pilot for that, and it was super fun. And really one of the things that we glommed onto most from that was the relationship that he had with his dad. And so when we sat down to think about what kind of feature we wanted to write, it just made sense to try to expand that into a much bigger story about a son's love for his father. And also, you know, the fact that we all kind of deal with embarrassing parents who do a lot of embarrassing things, but at the end of the day, we just love them so much, and so much of who we are is rooted back to our relationships with that. So we just took that tiny seedling of an idea and expanded it to a much bigger feature-length story. About My Father is a movie about a guy who was raised by an old school Sicilian immigrant who's come to America and found all these opportunities in America, including meeting a wonderful woman that he wants to marry who happens to be from a nicer cut of cloth, and now he wants to marry her. But to do so, he needs to get his grandmother's ring from his father, and his father won't give him the ring unless he gets to come along for the journey. So really it's about a man trying to go up to a nicer class in America, brings his old school father along, and then chaos ensues. I sometimes feel sorry for Sebastian when he's on the movie set because he's used to performing for these giant crowds and getting these huge laughs. And when he comes here, it's just like a few camera guys and sound people like snickering to these things. And he's like sometimes coming off as like, am I even funny? You know, but it really is like he is such a talented actor. It's funny for a guy who's performing for giant audiences how he can really contain himself and still be funny on such a small screen. And it's really remarkable. Not all comedians can make the transition from the giant arena, you know, to the small camera and the small sets. And he's really he really is able to latch onto that part of himself that makes him funny in this space. And I think it's such a different arena. I'm amazed by how well he's done with the transition. When you're a writer sitting in your room, you often like think, oh, who would be the ideal person to play these roles that you're writing into your movie? And like when we were doing this, we were like, I wonder if Robert De Niro would ever do it. And then when it actually becomes a reality, it's almost impossible to process. And to see this guy, I've been telling people that Robert De Niro does more with a look than I can do with the entire laptop and the entire program of Final Draft, which we write with. I mean, he's so talented that it's just like he's doing things with this character that we never even dreamed possible, and he's really, Robert De Niro has to be the absolute dream cast. We could not have asked for a more talented, more reputable person, and he's elevating every scene he's in. His notes along the way have been spot on, and it's just an absolute dream to have him in this movie. I think the entire cast that we pulled together to play the characters in this movie is really just a dream. We really wanted to make sure that on Sebastian's side it played real. We knew that because we had him, but on the more upscale side, we didn't want to make them like 80s villains or just typical prototypes you've seen a million times. And all the actors that we got in every role is way better than we thought we would possibly get. And just like they brought these characters and made them real and human in a way that just makes the movie work, because you can have both sides and you're not necessarily rooting for one. They each have their own point, and as they collide, it's more fun to watch because you're not villainizing either side. I think my favorite scenes on set have been when Robert De Niro, playing Salvo, is really guilting Sebastian into doing what he wants. I think we all have that parent in our life who really just lays on the guilt thick to get us to do what they want. And Robert is really bringing such energy and such heat to that role. And just, you kind of feel for Sebastian in those moments because you both love this man he's talking to, but also feel sorry for Sebastian. And you could just takes us all back to that moment we've all been talked into, like driving our parents somewhere, or picking them up from the airport, or not leaving them for a weekend. And so I think any moment between Sebastian and Salvo where that guilt is kind of coming to life has been very enjoyable to watch. Laura Terruso, who's our director, also grew up in a very intense Italian-American family. So I think she's bringing her own cultural background, but also like a real warmth and understanding to how this family works and how they always operate from a love-first mentality. And she's also just a very funny person who's been plussing the material the whole way and, you know, adding things to the script and really making it concise. And I think the warmth, her humor, and her control and command of the actors and her relationship to them is really bringing this thing to light in a way that I couldn't have dreamed possible.